Hey, I'm golf broadcaster Matt Adams. The updated and expanded second edition of my book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments, is now available. Readers can expect to march with Arnie's Army at the 1960 U.S. Open, relive Jack Nicklaus's remarkable 1986 Masters win, and be amazed by the Tiger Slam. The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, Golf's Biggest Stars Recall Their Finest Moments. Pick it up where fine books sold, including BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com.
This day in sports history. It's March 14th, and on this day in 1980, tragedy struck as a plane carrying 14 U.S. amateur boxers, along with 8 staff members, crashed in Warsaw, Poland. The USA boxing team was on the way to an international event in Poland in advance of the 1980 Olympic Games. At this point, the U.S. government had not made the decision to boycott the Summer Games held in Moscow later that year. This event was a final tune-up for the U.S. amateurs to get another look at boxers that they may be meeting in the ring in a couple of months. But the Polish IL-62 jetliner encountered problems on approach. Sun streaming into the cockpit temporarily blinded the pilots, and they couldn't see the light indicating that the landing gear had been deployed. Well, fearing the gear was not down, the pilots put the plane into a climb, but the gear was down, and instead of climbing, the plane nosedived, killing all 77 people on board, including the 22 members of the USA boxing contingent. Of the 14 boxers who lost their lives, 24-year-old Lemuel Steeples was considered by boxing experts as the best hope to win gold in Moscow and projected to have a promising professional boxing future. He was the reigning national Golden Gloves champ, beating future welterweight champ Milt McCrory to win that title. He also won the light welterweight title at the 1979 Pan Am Games. Boxing aficionados point out that was the same weight class that Sugar Ray Leonard won at the Pan Am Games in 1975 and then went on to win the gold in the 76 Montreal Olympic Games. Steeples' gravestone reads, "Gold medal winner," as a nod to what many thought was in store for him in the near future that was sadly lost on this day in 1980. Just 7 days later, President Jimmy Carter made the announcement that the U.S. would boycott the Moscow Olympics due to the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Also on this day, in 1991, it was one of the all-time great upsets in the NCAA tournament as the 15th-seeded Richmond Spiders beat the number 2 seed Syracuse Orangemen. It was the first time ever that a 15 had beaten a 2 since the tournament expanded to 64 teams in 1985. Richmond had played the role of giant killer before, knocking off then-defending champion Indiana in the 1988 NCAA tournament, and they played confidently throughout in this one, taking a lead early, scorching the nets in the first half, hitting 62% of their shots. They expanded their lead to as many as 10 in the second half, up by 1 with 21 seconds to play. Freshman Eugene Burroughs stepped to the free throw line for a 1-and-1, and he buried both to give the Spiders a 3-point lead. Syracuse missed several threes in their closing flurry. A free throw by Richmond's Curtis Blair provided the final margin of victory as the Spiders pulled off the 73-69 win. Blair finished the game with 18. Senior Terry Connolly came off the bench to put up 14 points and grab 7 boards. Syracuse All-American Billy Owens had 22 in the losing effort. Since this upset happened, a 15 has now beaten a 2 seed 11 times in the NCAA tournament, and a 16 has beaten a top seed twice, most recently last year when Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue. Those sound like future stories for this dish. And in 1967, it was the first draft after the NFL-AFL merger. The Baltimore Colts selected Michigan State's Bubba Smith. That was a pretty solid pick. Smith played 9 years in the NFL and was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1988. And finally, here's today's non-sports Did You Know? In Alaska, it is illegal to be drunk in a bar. Now, to clarify, you can be drunk at a bar, but you cannot be drunk and then go into a bar. So, take that into consideration next time you're in Alaska. That's all for today. I'll have more tomorrow on This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you gotta do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you gotta do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.